May I know your name?
My name is Izian Liana binti Khairul Anwar. Here they call me Teacher Liana. My staff call me Puan Liana.
Okay. Where is your workplace and what is the name of preschool center you work at?
Okay, my center is a franchise center which is Genius Outlet and our branch is in Bangsa.
How many years of teaching experience do you have in early childhood education?
Okay, frankly, before we open Genius Outlet Bangsa, I only have a year of management training teaching experience, but we've operated the center for 10 years already. 11th year this year.
Oh. Okay. Can you share your educational background and qualification related to early childhood education?
My educational background has nothing to do with early childhood. Cik nak cerita ke? Walaupun tak. I graduated in Bachelor of Science in Architecture. I had a degree in PR, mass communication. I completed a few certificates with UNITAR in early childhood education.
Okay, lastly question is, what is your teaching philosophy when education young children?
When educating young children, we have our teacher's vision, which is to nurture children to become adventurous, bubbly, and creative young Muslims, and also make them beneficial for dunya and akhirat lah. Basically, what we're trying to do is not just make them successful in this world, but also hereafter. So that's why we implement a lot of teachings that will basic Islamic education that will bring them forward.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Madam Liana. So my first question is, can you share a bit about what teacher usually do for children and how you support them lah? So what that method that you use to support the children?
Okay. Ni macam short answer je kan?
Yeah.
Here there's a lot of method macam teaching tools semua tu, is it? Okay, teaching tools including first the basic things lah yang macam hands-on activities, sand, arts and craft, glue, semua tu, all the teaching tools tu memang kita provide. If let's say tak cukup ke any arts and craft material, not just that, we also provide interactive things macam TV so that they can broadcast their lesson plans instead of just hands-on activities tu. Those yang itulah macam sounds that they can see and they can hear also.
So that based on the sounds too, they can assist the children lah to make
basically
more
songs, graphics pun macam we don't, basically dia bukannya interaktif tu, bukan dia buka YouTube tengok je. It's basically assisted in their teachings as well. So macam maybe numbers ada macam games, dia orang boleh kira-kira. So dia interaktif sikit lah, which is for these kids sekarang ni, Gen Alpha ni, they need something yang moving kan for them to. Dia tak boleh benda yang dia tak boleh benda yang static, yang cakap-cakap je. Dia kena benda yang gerak-gerak macam tu.
Okay, so for next question, what about teachers? How their responsibility for toward the parents and also family, and then how teacher also can work together with the parent lah to assist support the children.
Teachers, as in teachers' main responsibility toward parents. Okay, teachers, their responsibility is to take care of the children, of course, make sure that they follow lah their lesson plans, the daily lesson plans and all that. And then in if let's say with parents, usually interactions, we have the school app. So every interactions would be in the school apps. So whenever necessary, let's say there's any incidents ke, there's any or anything that they are aware. Let's say lah macam katakan hari tu budak tu tak buat buku ke, or they did not finish their work, so they need to complete it at home. That one teacher would communicate with the parents. If let's say any major things that need to be discussed, contohnya macam budak tu we realise that he has some disabilities, let's say kita rasa dia ni macam dyslexic ke, but we are not sure. So that one, I would be the middle person to inform the parents also to get it checked macam professionally lah. We don't diagnose but we inform so that they are well informed.
So they will inform, then they go to the specialist
up to them, whatever that they want to do. They want to go to the specialist ke, dia tak nak tu, it's up to them, but our responsibility is to let them know. Lepas tu, in terms of let's say ada any dispute lah, contohnya anak dia balik ada kena cubit ke, kena lebam ke, so that one we will communicate also lah with parents, macam
So within
inform.
all the interaction in the apps lah.
The formal interactions, yes, would be in the school apps.
Okay, so how about like children injured at the tadikau, so they
Okay,
can
if let's say ada any injury, teacher akan inform terus. So let's say lah katakan dia terlanggar dinding ke, kawan dia tercubit ke, ada merah sikit ke, or kadang-kadang dia main-main tangan tiba-tiba kuku ni ke, semua tu we will inform. Unless tiba-tiba ada kadang-kadang certain cases yang bukan terlepas pandang, macam kita tak tahu, tiba-tiba kawan dia cubit but budak tu pun tak nangis ke, tak complain ke, so we didn't know. And then bila parents balik ni, then we will check lah on that, like what happened.
So for next questions, how teacher usually support their colleagues and also connect with the community lah over here.
Okay, support colleagues, teachers with teachers, is it? Usually, okay, all teachers, they are sent into the same training. So, kalau teacher tu perlu replace class 4 years old ke, dia teacher 4 years old, dia kena replace class 5 years old, insyaAllah they can do it. So, they know how to teach lah engineer solat. But if let's say supporting each other as in, itulah usually we'll have a lot of macam events ke, apa-apa activity pun I would try to encourage teacher to do it together. Actually, I encourage teacher to discuss and also decide on things on their own and then inform me. Then I will, basically I'm the gatekeeper lah. I tengok macam okay ke tak, then we'll do it. And then in terms of with community, if let's say we have an event, anything that they need help, macam ni lah, you guys need help tu ni, we would very appreciate that lah. As long as ada masa, ada ni semua, kita akan try to assist where necessary.
Okay, so is there has anything like community program within this outlet?
We used to have this Crayon Loves Ibu, where we go to the cafe so parents can come, and then we have like arts and craft session, basically like parenting talk lah, parenting session with the parents. We wanted to do picnic. Actually, it's called picnic.
Like a
apa nama dia? Macam potluck picnic. So parents boleh datang have picnic. We have activities for the children, and then we'll have some parenting talk with the parents. Tapi tak sempat buat lagi.
So
and then macam other community works like macam when we visit the masjid, so we keep on, if let's say the masjid ada any promotions ke, they can come to us, then we'll promote to the parents. And then we have a nearby international school who is working closely with us. So kita itulah, kalau dia ada any event, any open day, anything that they want to promote to children, we will assist them.
okay, so there's a lot of program right here. So for the last question for me, and then as a teacher, how do you usually handle your classroom, or what kind of classroom management style or method that you use lah?
Okay. Frankly, I don't handle classrooms. I handle teachers handling classrooms. But whatever it is, engineer solat, macam memang we encourage the teacher to, it's classroom based. So the classroom are basically ikut age lah. So age 4 years old, 5, 5, 6, 6. So we try to, during the, what do we call, academic session to the preschool session 8 to 12 tu, memang they have tables, they have chairs, they have to sit on the chairs and then buat kerja on the table semua, except when we have like physical activities, baru teacher would move the table and we'll play games.
So over here, they're more to the play
classroom based.
or
It's actually classroom based, but how we teach is through play and learn. So our lesson, let's say 1 hour bahasa bijak bahasa. So bukan 1 hour tu terus buat buku je. Macam we have 10 minutes of introductions, we have 20 minutes of teacher teaching and interactive lah. Macam that's why we have the TV semua tu.
so
macam
it followed
sing
by
songs.
the speaker.
Yes, KSPK. Curriculum Prasekolah.
Still
2026.
KSPK.
Yes.
26 punya.
2026.
For the latest one lah.
The latest one. Yes.
So is it like a combination by the apa tu, what you call it, Montessori punya?
No, it's not a combination of Montessori. Kalau Montessori dia mix kan, depends. Macam children today nak buat maths, they do maths. No, we are classroom based, but we follow curriculum prasekolah. Curriculum prasekolah 2026 tu kan dia ada banyak macam main
and
apa
they
lagu,
focus on
songs.
emotional.
Membina insan sahsiah apa tu kan, yes, so that's why banyak there's physical activities, there's creative play.
Okay.
So and then all that macam we include in our lessons as well. So that's why the lesson kalau tengok buku tu kan macam 2 line je untuk tulis, because we want them, diorang kalau ikut KP 2026 kan, kira the writing part tu sikit je kan. So that's why we lesson. Kalau tak dulu 4 lines that they have to write. Now only 2 lines they have to trace and write.
Okay, so that's all question for my section.
My question for ethical practice. First, how do you ensure the safety and well-being of children in your classroom?
Okay. First and foremost, almost every week I remind the teacher that why we are working here. The children is basically our amanah lah. What we have to, how we have to take care of them. So kita parents hantar dekat kita so that they know the children are in a safe compound and all that. So the teacher has to practice that as well. And at the same time, memang tu, tapi kita also ada CCTV at every classroom so that if let's say any cases, we can check the CCTV.
The next question, what kind of positive discipline approach do you use when handling children behavior?
Okay. Basically, punishment sometimes works, but although some young parents don't really agree with punishments. However, we have to teach the children that what they did is wrong, and we don't want that children yang tak buat salah, dia rasa the children yang buat salah tu is privilege because you buat salah but you don't get anything. I yang baik ni tak ada apa-apa kan. So usually what we do is give them time out. So either ask them to go out of the class. Usually they will stay in my office. So those yang macam yang naughty sangat, yang tak boleh handle tu, yes, they will stay in my office until dia macam okay dah lah. Dia kadang-kadang dah tak tantrum ke or dah tak ni, baru we get them in the class. And then if let's say macam there's any games ke, diorang akan main last kali lah. So the teacher would punish them in that sense lah, not to say punishment macam ni ke apa kan, tapi macam tu lah, tak suruh diorang main lambat sikit, or maybe they cannot play, they have to skip this round, they cannot play this game.
And then how do you ensure that children are emotional respect and not embarrassing to in front of others?
Not embarrassing. Okay, if let's say somebody did something wrong, let's say lah this boy dia pukul lah kawan dia, katakan dia pukul kawan dia. So how we teach them, we will call both of them. Okay, what happened? Sometimes dia pukul sebab kawan ni pun say something. Okay, so we ask them, what is the problem? Once we determine whoever that is wrong, then kita tak marah. I don't encourage the teacher to marah, jerit in front of everyone. We call them to the side and then we tell them what is wrong, why do you do this, and then explain to them why that is wrong. Tapi macam kadang-kadang there are some cases yang memang it cannot be solved. You cannot know who is right, who is wrong kan. So usually in this case memang we have to put them separately. One is this side, one is this side.
Okay, for the next question about parents, how do you communicate professionally with parents, especially during misunderstanding or complaint from them?
Okay, usually we have a school app, so all complaints would be through the school apps or school WhatsApp only. That is considered as the formal what do you say, communication. If let's say lah the parents WhatsApp teacher personally, dia ada number teacher ke, dia WhatsApp teacher personally, I wouldn't take that into action yet unless the parents inform through the school app. So it's a formal communication lah, so that everybody is clear. Because if you tell this teacher and then the teacher inform, it could be miscommunication kan. So all channel of communication would be through the school apps. So once we receive any complaints, we will find out lah, we will investigate like what happened, and then we will get back to the parents usually by 5 working days on how what's the next course of action.
How do you ever face an ethical dilemma involving children or parents? And then how do you handle the situation professionally?
Okay. There's a lot of situation where if anything happened, the parents would blame the teacher, and of course they don't want to see the teacher in the school anymore. But usually I will consult, because we are a franchise center, so we have HR in HQ. So I would consult the HR in HQ and see what we can do. Usually the teachers, we would give warning letters and all that. And then if this case seems like it's very serious, then we could terminate the teacher, but it will be depending on the case lah, usually.
For the last question, what challenge as an educator face in maintain professional ethic in early childhood education today?
Which is sensitive so long. Okay. Personally, that is my biggest challenge now. I am facing, back then I was facing parents who are my age. So we have the same wavelength. We have the same idea of raising children. But now the parents are much more younger than me. So the wavelength is a bit different. How I perceive is right maybe is not right for them. Macam if let's say I think forcing reading is not good. It's not okay, and I know that they will know how to read somehow someday. But parents sekarang macam they expect anak dia pandai sangat. Dia nak anak dia kalau dalam social media tu paling terror lah. So that is basically my biggest challenge, because I know that this thing takes time. Sekarang kan they say trust the process. So you need time to enhance them. Bukannya diorang ni tak pandai, tapi maybe they are late bloomers. But sekarang ni parents semua benda nak cepat. Semua kan nak cepat. So that is basically my biggest challenge, is to teach, to educate them that it's okay. It's okay if your child is not good at certain things, but they are good in other things. But you have to see that as a positive thing. Macam sometimes dia kata anak dia tak tahu baca, tapi anak dia balik boleh solat. Which for me is something good lah. They learn something. That is part of learning. But to them tak. They want everything at one go. So maybe the child, maybe the reading tu dia kurang, but dia suka physical activity. That's why dia suka solat lah apa semua kan. So that is basically the biggest challenge that I have to basically face and explain to parents lah.
That's all for my question. Education. Okay, how do you handle a child challenging behavior without affecting the learning environment? Can you give an example of a successful strategy you have used?
Okay. Okay. If let's say we realize that the child has some behavior that we cannot control. Okay, let's say normal children, when you ask to sit down, dia boleh duduk lah for at least 10 minutes. If let's say without any activities pun they can duduk 5 minutes macam tu. But if let's say we give any activities, tapi a child ni, he cannot sit still, dia kejap ni, kejap angkat kerusi, kejap pergi kat kawan, kejap ni kan. There are some children yang okay, we just let them. Okay, even though teacher tengah mengajar, teacher is teaching, and then the rest too is listening, but he needs to walk around. As long as he doesn't disturb the class, he doesn't disturb other children, we are okay. So it's okay. And then other children pun kita educate them, like let them know that it's okay, let them walk. Tapi kadang-kadang diorang faham je budak ni boleh jalan, dia tak boleh jalan, but they are okay with it. But in some cases, those yang kacau the children, let's say macam okay, teacher tengah write on the board, dia nak padam je, dia tak nak, dia macam dia teacher dah tulis, dia pun nak erase. So it's a bit hard for the teacher to teach. Okay, that one we will give like maybe I'll give you a paper, okay, you sit here and do your work. So but we will explain that to parents, because we don't want parents to expect macam why aren't you teaching my children? You're supposed to teach everyone, is supposed to be focused, tapi these children I bagi paper untuk tulis. So we have to explain to parents that because he cannot behave in the classroom, so we have to give this so that he can sit for a while teacher is teaching other children. And then let's say when we have time, we'll get back to him. Okay, then we teach balik apa yang kita ni one to one. But sometimes these children, they are auditory learner as well. So even though dia buat ni tapi dia dengar, so dia basically dia belajar lah juga kan, bukan tak belajar apa-apa. So that's why we still want to keep them in the classroom so that apa-apa pun he will still get something out of it. But all this we will inform parents so that parents don't blame us. But normal children, yes, you boleh duduk okay dengar ni semua, tapi ada budak yang nak. Ada yang macam bila kita tegur, kita suruh ni, dia akan nangis, dia akan tantrum. So it will be lagi lama nak kena pujuk lah apa-apa pula kan. So that's why macam budak macam ni kadang-kadang we just leave it as it is, but just make sure that they are safe lah, macam safe. They are safe and also the children around them are safe.
Next question. Okay, how do you balance parent expectation with what is developmentally appropriate for the children? Have you ever faced conflict expectation and how did you handle that?
Okay. Most parents macam tu lah, they have high expectation because they want everything cepat. Dia nak anak dia masuk je, they expect 2 bulan dah pandai English. When at home pun you don't speak in English. So that one we cannot help. Memang if let's say they complain on that, we will say, what do you do at home? Because they are here with us 4 hours saja. Tu pun kalau datang lambat 3 hours saja, excluding makan lah apa semua. So 3 hours of learning versus berapa hours ada dekat rumah. So whatever that is at home plays an important part. Let's say macam potty train. Most parents yang bila datang sini, do you teach potty train? I cakap, we don't teach but we encourage. So that thing have to start at home. That is basic things. Kencing, berak ni kan basic things. They have to teach at home. Once they come here, we will assist. Let's say dia kata, dia dah potty train, tapi dia pakai pampers lagi, then we will try lah. Maybe kita pun buka pampers, ask them whether they want to go toilet. We can assist in terms of that. But whatever basic things have to start from home. Reading and all that. Actually, it starts from home. When you are at home, tengok TV tu pun is considered part of learning juga kan. Kalau basically lah family tengok TV, it could be a learning process. They could recognize muka ni apa boy, muka girl. They could differentiate boys, girls, adults, babies. Jalan-jalan, I rasa budak-budak macam, of course they don't know how to read, tapi dia tahu M besar tu ialah McDonald's. How do they know? That is basically reading also. So that is how we teach them. So all that comes from home. So at school, we are basically just supporting all that. So dia dah ada basic reading, basic counting, basic recognition, cognition, semua tu. So kita tolong untuk enhance and make sure that whatever that they are doing is right. So that's how we support. So
Okay, next question. Okay, as a center manager, they often handle multiple responsibility. How do you manage stress and balance your workload effectively?
Okay, Alhamdulillah, I have supporting teachers, supporting helper. Basically, my support system is very strong. So you need to have trust in your teacher and you also need to basically divide your workload. So macam if let's say any events, kita dah fikir how to do it and all that, we let the teacher execute. Or let's say we have some input from the teachers as well. So shared ideas ni kadang-kadang bila kita fikir idea seorang-seorang ni, it might not be right also. Or sometimes if let's say HQ give me direction, okay, we need to do Hajj program. Tapi I nak fikir seorang-seorang tu, macam sometimes, I don't know whether it works or not. So sometimes we need input from teachers. So that's how I distribute the workload basically. And then also, basically my job is to make sure that everything is done on time, is done correctly, betul-betul, and then ensure that everything is enough for the teachers to teach their classroom.
Okay. Next is how do you approach teaching in a classroom with children from different background, abilities or learning style? Can you share an example of a challenges and how you overcome it?
Teaching, okay, of course in one classroom because we don't segregate them by their basically children in this school, in the classroom tu kita randomly je lah. So tak ada segregate boys and girls ke, pandai tak pandai, pandai boleh baca ke tak boleh baca, whatever lah. So in a classroom you will see there's one person yang extra pandai, there's one person yang boleh dengar cakap, there's one person yang biasa-biasa, there's one person yang a bit slow bloomers, ada yang tak tahu apa-apa. Okay. So because Jenis Saulat we have a syllabus. So we just basically follow the syllabus. But in terms of macam let's say sebab in the classroom kan ada banyak ni, ada sing songs, ada play games, ada listening, so they have a bit of visual learning, a bit of kinesthetic, a bit of auditory learning. So all this macam we can see that these children dia suka bila part song je, these children dia suka bila part tulis-tulis. So we can know that these are their strong points. Tapi at the same time we have to teach them everything. We still have to teach them. Bukannya dia ni suka nyanyi so asyik nak lagu je dengan dia, tak. So even though dia suka nyanyi, but at the same time writing they still have to do. Even though they slow ke apa ke, they still have to do. If let's say they cannot complete, that's why we give out. Actually it's not homework lah. Basically parents have to assist them lah at home. And then ada setengah budak ni dia suka belajar je, dia tak nak macam lagu lah, main game semua dia tak nak. Dia memang suka bila part belajar saja. Mak dia kata dia kena belajar je. So game semua tu, if let's say we offer, you want to play, you play. If you don't want to play, it's okay. Then you can just watch your friend and cheer your friend macam tu.
Okay. Next is with the increasing use of technology, how do you balance the screen time, especially for children who may spend too much time on devices? How do you encourage them to engage hands-on learning?
Okay. Last year we used to have projector. So kalau projector tu the teacher have to use their phone and project to the ni. So this year each classroom have their own TV. So at least bila teacher guna phone, budak akan tend to go to the phone instead of the ones on the wall. So we still need the interactive learning for the children. But at the same time, yes, we want to avoid, because diorang ni kadang-kadang bila, I think they are so used to screen semua kan. So they like macam tu lah, bila keluarkan phone nak ambil gambar ke dia sibuk tengok phone and then nak check ni semua. So that's why we want to avoid all that lah. So that's why we have TV. So bila TV tu everybody have to focus at one place. So dia bukannya nak tengok phone teacher ke nak ni kan. So that's how we want to avoid lah having screen time ni. Actually we don't have screen time except that bila balik macam nak tunggu parents balik tu semualah baru bagi relax sikit kan. Teacher pun need some relax a bit. So but the TV is basically as one of our teaching tools lah to help to assist the teacher in teaching.
Okay. My last question is, what do you think is the biggest challenge in early childhood education today, and how can teacher overcome it?
Okay, for me the biggest challenge is there's too much information out there. I think you buka Threads ke, you buka any social media lah, semua orang boleh cerita pasal early childhood. Like everybody can give their opinion. But whatever it is, this thing are dia macam apa, dia benda ni dia flexible. It might work for you, it might not work for this guy. It might work for this guy, it might not work for you. So this thing is based on experience. So yes, you can read, macam it's just like how you take care of your body lah. You boleh baca, you can makan ni, but sometimes it doesn't work for your body. It might work for other people. So that's the thing. It is a bit of trial and error, macam you kena see. Kadang-kadang bila budak yang dah lama dengan kita tahu dah dia macam mana. Budak yang baru masuk tu kita kena try tengok dia ni pemalu. So how do we approach them? Maybe it's this way. Maybe this way doesn't work. Maybe yang ni pemalu macam ni. Pemalu yang ni kita cakap dia okay. Pemalu macam ni kita cakap lagi dia tak nak cakap. So it doesn't have, macam tak ada handbook yang kata everything is the same. So we have to like basically trial and error. But these children, diorang kata apa, they absorb macam sponge kan. Diorang belajar tu, diorang boleh ikut je. So sebenarnya diorang ni, once we educate them how it is like ni, we ensure them that it's safe, semua tu, they are okay. Dia boleh je join, dia boleh je, dia boleh ikut je kita punya how we teach them kan.
Thank you. This is the last question.
For me is about personal reflection and advice. Okay. First question is, what quality are needed to be a good educator?
Okay. It necessarily doesn't have to be me, but I think a good educator has to be responsible, you know where you stand, you are alert and always vigilant on what's going on around you, and also you have to be productive because macam I said lah, not everything is in the same way. Even though even though our syllabus say okay today kena ajar letter A macam ni, but sometimes you have to be a bit out of the box. If your children tak boleh handle macam ni, what do you have to do to change? Bukanlah dia bukan change, basically to tweak the lesson plan so that at the end of the day it still receive the same objective, tapi how you execute it might be a bit different according to your classroom. And I also like teacher who are passionate about the children. They know basically anak dia ni macam mana, macam tu.
Okay, second is why is skill in education so important in early childhood education?
Skill in education. Okay, I think because at the end of the day we want someone who is not just book smart tapi street smart. You know how to live, you know how to take care of the children. Children tu tiba-tiba termuntah, what do you need to do? It's not just about dalam buku tak ada muntah nak buat apa So apa? Kalau dia termuntah, what do you need to do? Benda, yes, your basic instinct macam tu. Kalau dia termuntah, what you need to do? Dia apa-apalah benda-benda yang unexpected. With the children ni kadang-kadang tak tahu, tiba-tiba satu hari datang nangis kenapa? Oh sebab mami dia tiba gaduh semalam. Punyalah kita kena jadi marriage consultant pula. Dia cerita mak dia ni. So benda macam tu lah that you just have to listen, have to give positive, just support je dia macam okay, it's okay. Nak pujuk balik budak tu kan.
Okay, next is what challenge have helped you to grow as an educator?
I think as year goes by, it's basically how things changed. Daripada dulu tu lah, dulu when we started YouTube pun tak banyak resources. It was just a few songs yang popular yang kita boleh guna. Things macam dulu tak ada Shopee, so things like teaching tools, you nak beli pom-poms ke nak beli ice cream sticks pun tak beli dulu ya, kena kumpul makan ice cream 10, dapat 10 ice cream sticks. Sekarang benda tu senang, boleh beli je. So basically that's the difference that I see lah. Actually now there is more resources, there are more it's quite easy lah basically nak get things. Kalau tak dulu macam tu lah, macam we need we need watercolor, we always have to buy expensive ones dekat bookshops, bookstores. Sekarang memang ada dah murah-murah yang at least benda tu easy to get, easy resources. A bit convenient untuk sekarang ni, masa sekarang.
Okay, next question. Okay, can teacher give some advice to aspiring early childhood educator out there, like all of us?
Malu lah, tak ada apa-apa pun. I think you guys know better since you are learning in this in this in this field kan. So cik kalau ikut I tak boleh nak bagi advice pun, I tak ada apa pun. I just have experience je, but I believe that you guys are doing a good thing. Teaching the children ni bagi tasirah pula, tapi macam actually you know, even it is mentioned that you know kalau orang tu mati apa yang dia bawa ilmu yang bermanfaat, anak yang soleh, charity yang berpanjangan kan. So whatever that you teach the children tu, walaupun sekecil mana pun, but it is useful in their life. So actually your pahala tu banyak sangat. So I believe that you know all these early child educators, they are doing a good thing lah. You actually macam masa zaman I tu tak pernah macam terfikir pun benda ni wujud macam ni, tak pernah. It wasn't an option. It was nobody open our eyes like this is an option to do this. So I think like nowadays memang macam dengar ramai orang belajar ni kan, it's really an eye opener, and I believe that you guys are doing a good thing lah. And just remember that whatever that you have learned, also to implement it in real life too, it could be a bit different, but at the same time if you have the basic too, it could be better for you guys.
Okay, last question. How can future educator improve their teaching skill and professionalism?
I think need to have more hands-on activities. I think real life experience too is a bit different from what you learn in books. In fact, every profession pun macam tu kan, whatever that you learn in books, tapi in real life it could be a bit different. But I think if you have more experience, and if you are macam tu lah, macam a bit more productive, you want to know more, you want to learn more, then you would have I rasa more 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 experience lah in this you will do better lah basically in what you are doing. And then lagi satu I think being a teacher, like I know lah they said macam low salary lah apa semua tu kan, but actually it's a good experience for you guys to try to tak tahu lah have an ambition to open up a center ke, or if not pun do something about the education system. Sometimes macam yelah kita dekat sini, so we know that there is something wrong, macam maybe lah from what I see 7 years old tu tak patut satu kelas ramai sangat orang, so maybe you could work with Kementerian Pendidikan ke to change the policy or something like that. So I believe the early childhood educators ni they have a say and they have a lot more potential. Okay, that's all. Okay, sorry lah.